Hey guys, and welcome to our kitchen where I am super excited. We are getting ready to do a fun project on the wall here behind me. And if you saw on the blog where I shared these awesome, easy DIY peg rail shelves that I built, then you knew that that was only part one of this wall's makeover. Part two actually requires that I take them back down because it's bold, it's beautiful, it's a whole lot out of my comfort zone. It's wallpaper. Not only is it wallpaper though, it's actually a wall mural. And it's made by Wallpaper, but that's the only detail I'm gonna give you. You're gonna have to wait till the end and see what it looks like, but I think it's gonna be fantastic. And the reason that I actually chose to do wallpaper on this wall is because what you guys can't see is that all of our cabinetry, our kitchen island, all of the things in our kitchen are behind you guys. So I really wanted to kind of balance out that visual weight by adding some interest to this side of the room. And I think the wallpaper is gonna help me do exactly that. Okay, so we ended up getting some family here yesterday for an unexpected visit, which is always nice. But then we ended up just kind of taking the afternoon to plan this project out a little bit better because of something I'll show you here in a second. But we got the shelves off, the wall is pretty much prepped and ready, but let me turn the camera so you can see. So when you first walk in to our house, this is the wall. The staircase goes behind this. We're actually going to be ripping this wall out here pretty soon, but we started to think about how we wanted to trim the closet door out and how that would affect the wallpaper and the seam in this corner here. So we went ahead and we took out that chunk of drywall there and we found beadboard. Beadboard that's original to the house. I'm so excited. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna finish taking out the drywall a different day probably because we wanna get the wallpaper up today. But at a later time, we're gonna just cut the beadboard with the steps. So it'll go up, 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 and we'll be able to maintain that architectural feature of the house. Like bonus project day, but from our experience that happens sometimes. One project you think will be a simple project can lead to requiring you to do a little bit more, and then this happens. Not mad about it though. Alright, so since our bonus project is kind of wrapped up for now, the drywall mud is almost dry there in the corner. We're getting ready to start the wallpaper. And like I said, we are complete newbies to this process, so we definitely watched the video on the website. They give a good tutorial, and the wallpaper that we're using is pre-pasted wallpaper. So the instructions right here, and all of the things that we'll be using that they said that we needed right here, and the level. So we'll be using a paint roller to get the wallpaper wet, but first we're gonna roll it out so that we can see all the pieces that we're gonna need. And we're gonna start from left to right across the room, leaving 2 inches of overhang in the corner over there and at the top. So yeah, let's get the wallpaper rolled out and take a look at it. Well, I guess I should show you guys. This is how it comes. It's just one big roll, and then each piece is pre-pasted, like I said, and I think they're about 25 inches wide. Have the first piece laid out here on the ground. What you'll do is you'll wet the entire thing. The lighting is weird. So what you'll do is you'll wet the entire piece, and then you'll bring the ends of it, fold them up together to meet in the middle, and then let it sit like that with pretty saturated, it said, for 10 minutes to activate the glue, and then you'll start top and work your way down to the bottom. Before we get started, we're going to mark on the wall. Actually, Ed has already started doing that, where we'll make sure that we're level. Ed, you want to show them how you did that? So we measured the piece of wallpaper and then 2 inches of overhang, and then he just marked on the wall here so that whenever we start, we'll know that's our first piece, and hopefully from then on we'll be able to continue to make them be level, right? Alright, so I got my roller wet, and I'm going to go ahead and get the first piece ready. All right, now I'm going to fold up the ends toward the middle, because that's what they said to do on their site. That is what you're supposed to do, fold it over like that. So now we wait 10 minutes for the glue to activate, and then we'll stick this piece up. All right, so it's been 10 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and try to get up this first piece. We unfolded the top part of it. So the first piece is up. There's definitely a learning curve to the process. I'm gonna have to put a little bit more water on the second one, I think, or all the rest, especially around the edges and the top corners. just to make sure that the glue is activated enough. But we're able to use a wet, clean cloth, and I think that the website recommended having that on hand too, for this very reason, and it worked and it looks good. I'm so excited. All right, so we're getting ready for piece number 4, and Ed actually helped us out by marking on this side of the wall right here. He measured over 25 inches and drew our line so we can make sure that we stay really nice and level as we come over that doorway. We also have waited to cut around the header molding piece at the top of that doorway where it's a little bit more detailed until until the wallpaper is a little bit more dry because it is a little bit difficult to cut it when it's wet. Ed made the comment it cuts like you're trying to cut toilet paper with a razor. Kind of bunches up, so we're waiting for it to dry just a little bit more before we finish cutting that, and we'll do the same on this side of the doorway too. So Ed's been, on the last piece and then this one, he wiped down the wall with a damp cloth, a damp rag, just to really help make sure that it stays wet enough to stick. And the instructions in the video said to wait 10 minutes before to let the glue do its thing. But we have found, I think, about half that time works best for us, and I'm sure it varies depending on your wall size and things like that, but we have a little bit more maneuverability when it's still a little bit more wet. So, here we go. So we're coming to the last piece, and something that I think that I've learned along the way is that when it comes to the seams of it, the thing that I have found that works really well is that you bring them almost together, just so that your eye can see the white wall behind them, so not even probably a millimeter apart. And then flatten out everything else and make sure that there's no bubbles, everything's laying super flush against the wall. And then you can slide it over just to make those seams perfectly touch and meet, not overlap at all. And I think that that's really the perfectionist in me, and Ed's the same way. So I'm really happy with how it's turning out. You really can't see the seams at all. What you're seeing on camera pretty much is what it looks like in person, and I'll bring you guys up close so you can see what I'm talking about here in a minute when we're done. Another thing that I just thought of that I wanted to add is that we will be putting a baseboard at the bottom and trim at the top. Molding will go all around the ceiling in here. So I went ahead and we ran it all the way to the floor and all the way to the ceiling, but some of those parts will be covered up, so we weren't super careful when we were cutting those edges, but you won't see that later. I love it. All right, so we're all done. I hope that you enjoyed this process and love the finished result as much as we do. For lots more information and DIY project, visit www.midcountyjournal.com.